Franchesca Ramsey, welcome to Head on Fire. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It is such a treat because I was just recently rewatching Superstore and now you're
Oh
in front of my face.
my God, me wearing a mask. So, my big TV debut.
So, for people who don't know who you are, which you're everywhere, I don't know how they would, tell people who you are and what it is that you do.
Sure, I'm a TV writer, I'm an actress, I'm a content creator. I have been making content for it'll be 20 years next year, which is bonkers to say, video content specifically. I started on YouTube making hairstyle videos, and then I had my first big viral video in 2012, Shit White Girls Say to Black Girls. Since then, I've written for Comedy Central. I had a show on MTV. I was on Superstore, like Don said. And most recently, I've had a very viral song called I Never Thought the Leopards Would Eat My Face. So I've had a lot of time on the internet, too much, and I've lived many lives.
You have, and
Yeah.
that's kind of a through line, I think, with creatures of the internet like us,
Yeah.
in which we're all kind of multi hyphenates, but we all get lumped into these terms of influencer or content
Yeah.
creator or something. Like you hit a certain follower count and suddenly you're an influencer, you're a content creator.
Yeah. And did you see when there was that whole debate between like the difference between a content creator and an
Well, yes, and you
influencer?
and I talked about that, but I was going to ask you,
We did.
what do you think that there is a difference between the two? And if there
Yes.
is, what is the substantive difference for people that aren't familiar, that just
Yeah.
sort of lump it together themselves?
I absolutely think that there's a difference. And this is one of the rare times that I think the names are quite apt in that an influencer, and to be fair, I don't think of it as like a negative thing, but when I think influencer, I think somebody who is really billing themselves almost as a funnel for ideas and products and lifestyle. Like, here's where I get my nails done. Here's how I do them.
One
Here's
man
what I'm
marketing team.
cooking. Exactly. There's
And that's a
often
whole job. They've got recording studios in their house and
and
they've
they've got
got,
like affiliate links,
yup.
and they have, a content creation schedule that is with specific brands, and they're locked into deals and things like that. And so the term influencer, I think, really makes sense for them because they have a relationship with their audience that is largely sales driven. They do a lot of branded content, for example, versus someone that's a content creator. I think of more of actually creating content for the purpose of entertaining or educating or illuminating certain conversations. And while there might be times that they do branded things or they share affiliate links, it's not the majority of their content. So I would say it's maybe like 80% is pure content creation, and then 20, maybe 30% is advertising based or branded. Cause we got to pay bills. So I don't begrudge anyone that
Get
has
your
to do
bag.
that.
Get your bag entirely.
Yeah, but I think influencer has kind of a more negative connotation because of that.
I agree.
And personally speaking, I don't think it's always negative, but when someone says, "Oh, you're just an influencer," I'm like, I write music, I sing, I write jokes, I've written for television. Like I do way more than just push product.
Well, and it's also like, I think that we typically vilify if commerce gets injected into something.
Yeah.
So, oh
Yeah.
my God, you're making money from that. I mean, I'm an author. Oh my God,
Yeah.
you're making money from this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, baby, I don't write for free.
Oh,
I don't spend,
yes.
years of my life getting really good at something.
I feel the same way. There is this idea of, and this is something you and I have talked about a lot, where some audiences can have a sense of entitlement of like, you work for me, you're making money off of my engagement. And, I'm like,
I
yes, I
follow you.
am,
How
but
dare you say X, Y, or Z thing? I'm like,
we don't
oh,
know each other.
I don't know what to tell you, buddy.
Yeah. And it's, again, it's a double-edged sword because on the one hand, developing a relationship with your audience is so important, but unlike a quote unquote traditional celebrity, there is this assumption of, well, we have a relationship because I've talked to you, or we've DM'd, or you've responded to my comments, or whatever it is. And I think it's gotten a lot easier for people to forget, like, we are still strangers. Even if you've watched my content for 10 years or 20 years, this is a one-way relationship. You know a lot about me. I don't know anything about you. I don't know. Again, this is one of the reasons I'm so excited for the book that you've been working on, because we need
Well, I'll
so
send it to you. It's
every
finally
time.
done.
Yes, yes, yes. Every single time I get annoyed with somebody, I'm like, where is Don in that book to talk to y'all about how to make friends? You need community.
It's done. It's with the copy editor and the fact checker. Simon is like, they're really investing in the book. So we're
Yeah,
getting a
that's
fact check
great.
too. I'm like
That's
so
great.
happy.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's rare in nonfiction, which kind of brings up a topic you and I were talking about just before the
Sure.
show. Being an influencer, being a content creator, we yap a lot on social media.
Yeah.
Anytime anything is going on in the world, people want our opinion on things. People expect us to be talking about it, whether or not we've suddenly become, I don't know, geopolitical experts or
Right.
nutritionists or whatever it is that's currently, in the zeitgeist. And suddenly we're supposed to comment on it and comment on it with like alacrity.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what you think the responsibility is for a content creator to like get it right.
Mm. Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I think everyone should do their due diligence before chiming in. And I am of the mind that there's a lot of times where I don't need the perspective on some person who, just does food stuff, for example.
I
Like,
always go
stay in
back to
your
that example. I'm like, you're a chef. Why do I?
well, and one reason that I use the example is during the fucking Johnny Depp trial, which that was a whole shit show in itself. But the amount of people that were weighing in that had never talked about domestic violence before, that had never talked about legal proceedings, that had never talked about defamation. Like, there are so many intricacies that were included in that case, not even just talking about like the whole slut shaming of it all and the victim blaming. And it's like, you make cupcakes. Why the fuck are you making content about this? Oh, because you know that you can, have a viral video and make lots of money. And so to your first question, or your question specifically, I think if you're going to weigh in, I would rather you actually know what you're talking about and have something substantive to add, rather than just saying something for the purpose of saying something. And something I have said for many years is speak up, not over. And so there are often times where I'm like, do I have anything to add to this? I would rather amplify somebody else who's more informed and an expert in this, rather than just regurgitate something I've heard. Or one I hate is, everybody's talking about this and I really don't know that much about it, but I'm going to then say
Shut
nothing.
up.
Then shut up. Then shut up. That said, I do think there are celebrities, influencers, content creators who choose not to speak on things because they're afraid it's going to hurt their brand. And so they do the like, well, I don't know enough. And it's like, sometimes I don't necessarily think that that's always truthful.
I think that there's a couple of layers to being a social media person. I feel like there's like a layer when you like a follower count, engagement, and visibility that you get to pretty much be mostly and not like nobody really cares what
Yeah.
you say, how you say it, da 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 da. And you get to kind of exist in the comment section and yap as much as you want, and then you hit a threshold. Different veins have different thresholds, but whatever it is, you hit a threshold, and suddenly people care.
Yeah.
And suddenly everything that you say or do or have in the background of a photo or suddenly it's platforming it.
Yeah.
Suddenly you have a platform and you are platforming it. And I get how when you're in that middle space of, suddenly you have a platform and you're platforming it, you're still not entirely sure. Like, it's not, do I need to be weighing in on everything? Maybe I've got 50,000 followers and I make cupcakes. Okay. I think I'm still okay to be in the cupcake lane for a while. But then you get like those people that have like 50 million followers.
Hmm.
I do feel like that is a substantive difference in
Yeah.
platform
I mean,
and
I
reach.
I definitely think audience size plays a role in it. But if you have 50 million followers and you're the cupcake girl and you don't have enough information to speak on, I'm going to use the Johnny Depp trial, for
Mhm.
example. I don't think there's a reason. To me, it's like you're not the Associated Press. If I go to you for cupcakes, I don't need you to weigh in on this. If you share something from somebody else because you feel really passionately about this, I think that that's fine. But
But
I
I think
think,
I think it also in that space though, there's ways to find a way to like, okay, if this actually does align with something that you care about, you know, a big example is obviously Gaza, you know, and
Yeah.
anything that, you know, free Palestine. And
Yeah.
I feel like if I'm the cupcake girl, maybe I align with a charity that's taking food over there or something like that.
Yeah.
Like there's ways that you can organically build it into your brand. And I feel like at a certain level, not doing it is also an action.
Yes. And again, for me, I think it's the difference between, I think there's like shades of gray in the sense of it's either you're not saying anything or you're amplifying other things that people are saying. So it's like
Yes.
you
Yeah.
don't necessarily have to give a TED talk on the topic. You're like, look, I'm still a cupcake girl, but I've amplified this charity. I've shared this
Exactly.
article. You know what I mean? I've co-signed. I love on TikTok how you can reshare things to
Mm-hmm.
your followers. And I do that a lot,
Mm-hmm.
or share things to your story. And so to your point, it's like you're still using your platform for good without, I think back to there was an era where we were asking so many pop stars if they were feminists, and so many of them were getting it wrong. And I just kept thinking, okay, you're asking some girl who didn't go to college, like, not to say that she's absolved from criticism, but like, why are you asking this pop star who clearly doesn't know what feminism means? Because they're all like, I love men. And you're like, okay, that's not.
I'm not a feminist. I have a boyfriend.
Yeah. And so
Okay.
I think it's unfair to hold people to these unrealistic standards where sometimes I'm kind of like, can you have that same energy for our elected officials? Like, I do want influencers and celebrities and content creators to use their platforms wisely, but like sometimes I see people going so hard against somebody that has this many followers, and it's like, yeah, but like, have you called any senator? Have
Yeah,
you
even the
have
cupcake like even cupcake girl with 50 million followers only has so much power.
Yeah, and
There's
it
only
just
so much that we can do. Like I
yeah,
can amplify. I can raise aware. I'm raising awareness. I'm
yeah.
raising awareness
And I can
to
see
do what?
it's so hard, and this is why a podcast, for example, is a better venue to have this conversation versus, a limited character count on Threads, or a 1 minute video on TikTok, because y'all ain't gonna watch anything past a minute. It's that I can understand why people are, and the anger is misdirected. The anger is valid. And I think a lot of people are just grappling with the realities of there's a lot of bad shit happening right now. And a lot of us are struggling with what we're supposed to do. And so
Somebody
instead,
tell me.
somebody tell me, but
Somebody
also
tell me.
you should be doing more. You're not doing enough. And it's like, I mean, maybe I'm could be doing more, but also like you are now tasking me, a content creator, with fixing a problem that I didn't create. And also I don't have the answer to. And I'm taking a social media break right now. I think I've been off for like 3 weeks. I don't know. I'm going to be off for a long time, which I'm very thankful for. And a big part of it has been that, where like I just feel so burnt out by obligations I've placed on myself, but then also that my audience, on the one hand, I'm very flattered that they think of me so highly, but it's really hard. It's like I kind of just want to make comedy stuff. Like I don't want to have to make educational content all the time, and I've been trying to get out of it for so long that I just felt I haven't taken a break since last year. So I was just like, I need time to just step away and like reevaluate and focus on what's important to me. What is important to me is not making 1 minute videos every fucking time Donald Trump says something.
There is an actors, you know, they do those like Vanity Fair or whatever actors
Mm-hmm.
roundtables where
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like the
yeah.
comedy actors and the drama actors. There's one, if you haven't seen it yet, I want you to watch. It's a recent one with the
Mm,
drama actresses roundtable. And like
yeah.
Helen Mirren is there. And, but like Niecy Nash
Oh,
is
yeah.
on it.
It's a new one. It's the newest one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the newest one. It just came out. I watched it on my back porch. And normally I, watch these things in chunks, but I was just like, fixated
Yeah.
because it was such a good conversation. Nisi was talking about how she's like, I've done comedy. I'd done comedy for so many years. And I realized that everybody on my team only thought that I could do comedy because I
Mm,
wasn't getting anything else.
yeah.
I kept I did Reno 911 and then and it was
Mm-hmm.
only ever the same character from that I was
Mm-hmm.
getting. So she said one day I brought in my whole team and I reintroduced myself
I
to
love
my
that.
team. And I said, I have other things. I'm going to want to see these other things in my
Mm-hmm.
inbox. This is what
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing now. We are going to open up the flood, and we're going to be doing. And she's like, and then I started winning awards. I was in Selma. I was in, all
Yeah.
of this stuff, which is why I'm here at this table. Of course, she's like, now I need to have another meeting because now all I'm getting is dramatic roles. And they
Yeah.
forgot that I was funny. So,
Yeah. No, I love that. I have had a very similar approach. I can't wait to watch that roundtable. Yeah, that was a big part of why I started going back to music. And I couldn't tell you how many times people said, I didn't know you could sing. And I'm like, I've always been able to sing. But similarly, I got put in this lane and I became like the talking head social justice girl. And I was so thankful for it. But I was just like, or even when I did Superstore, people were like, I didn't know you could act. I went to acting school, like, or designing merch. I went to graphic design school. I came out with wallpaper and people were like, I didn't know. I'm like, right. I have to reintroduce my talents and create opportunities for myself. And that's something I've been really excited about.
I
And
think that that's kind of what the content creator label is in
mhm,
2025. I think it's this like, we used to call it a Renaissance man, a Renaissance woman, a Renaissance
yeah.
person. It's like, yeah, I'm multiple, I'm many things. Like you said, you started off in this one lane and you're known for this wholly different thing. I was a poet and I thought I was going to be known as a poet. And now I'm like, the deep dive, shake my finger. Let's have 17 sources and take
Yeah.
you on a journey through a deep dive guy. And like,
Yeah.
I do other things too. I promise. I didn't even
Well,
realize this was going to be the direction my career took me.
I think that's the content creator of it all. I also think that's our generation, right? Like our parents were, I think we're,
We were the people that got told, sorry, your degree is worthless now. You have
I
a
know,
master's
really.
degree. Go work at, the coffee shop.
Yeah. Well, and it's in also, our parents, you pick a career and you stay in that career for 30 years and then you retire. And we don't have that luxury. And as frustrating as it is that our economy is in shambles and the job market is terrible, I try to look on the silver lining of thank goodness we can create content. Thank goodness people are like, I'm gonna start an Etsy, I'm gonna drive an Uber. I'm also gonna be able to, and I saw something recently saying that Gen Z is not applying for jobs if it doesn't say the salary. Gen Z is like, well, I'm not fuck y'all. I'm gonna do something else. And so I'm really thankful for that. But you're right, like so many of us have just had to pivot. And I get people asking me for career advice all the time. And that's the thing I always tell people. It's like, don't be afraid to shift gears. There's that quote that's like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and hoping for the same results. And that's my approach to content creation. That's my approach to my career. That's my approach to friendships. That's my approach to dating. If like something's not working, I'm going to change. And I'm going to be like, let's
People
do
ask
something
me for
else.
that all the time on social media. How do I break out of the 200 view jail? Why aren't I
And then
getting
I look at
more
your channel and I'm like, you're doing the same thing over and over and
over and
over,
over again?
over
And I'm like,
again.
okay, but the other thing is you're not a person on here. You're a brand and nobody wants that. Nobody wants to feel sold to. Like, I don't care
Yeah.
what it is that you do. I don't care how well you do it. If that's all you are every time, if there's no human element, if there's no human connecting to another human, here's who I am outside of this, people are going to get bored. They're not going to
Yeah.
tune
I
into
think
that. They've seen that video.
Yeah, and like I will also say I don't think brand itself is a dirty word, but
No.
the underlying of it is the human of it all. I think a lot of people don't know what their why is, or their why for creating content is just like I want to get free stuff and I want to get invited to premieres and I want to
Where's my
have
free stuff? I would like free stuff.
also, free stuff does not pay the fucking bills. Like
So
again, like
true.
free stuff is cool, but let me
It's
be honest
cool.
with you. So often I get free stuff. I'm like, this. Oh, you're just giving me things to throw away. It's like here, take this
The
bag of
number of
crap.
boxes that I've gotten where I'm like, then if you send me another goddamn water bottle, if I get one more branded water
Or
bottle
the
or
thing, it's
tumbler or
water bottles and tote bags
calendar,
and mugs
journal,
and
pen,
I've also gotten like some things that I just like an Apple AirTag. I've gotten so many
mm,
AirTags from events with like the thing. I'm like, I don't use these. What am I supposed to do with these? Or Bluetooth speakers. Like, okay, cool.
well, that's
I
another
don't
little thing where they like send you like a little gadget for your house. And it's like, I mean,
I don't
one, I know
need
that this was
this.
like $5. Like this was like $2 on Temu or whatever.
Yeah.
Like two, I don't want to.
Well, and to be fair, if you haven't gotten those free things, I'm sure there are people listening that are like, would love a Bluetooth speaker. And it's like, okay, but when you need to pay rent and you're like, shit, a Bluetooth speaker is not going to help you. And so if you don't have a solid reason for why you're creating, and I would also say this applies to people outside of content creation, any arts, it's going to come across as inauthentic and people aren't going to be able to connect with it. And you are also going to get burnt out really quickly if your things that you're striving for are external things, like how many followers you have and how many brand deals and all those things that you can't control. I often tell people set goals you can control, because if those are the things that are keeping you in it, what if you never hit 1 million followers? What if you never get a brand deal? You're going to be asked out, you know? And there are some people who never achieve the level of success, quote unquote, that others have, but they still are very happy and are able to, make a living and challenge themselves and do things that they want to do. So again,
One of the things that you have sometimes gotten into some heat for, but I know that I am always like cheering you on real loud about it, is when you say, I don't do things I don't get paid for. But like, I fully believe that we are, especially these days, we so critically undervalue creative labor
yeah.
as though it's not labor, as though other people, I mean, we're seeing this in the AI conversation, but we've seen this in, I mean, like authors have been told that we should feel glad that our works are being, plagiarized or distributed on like those free book websites or
Hmm.
whatever. And we
Yeah.
should be glad that people are pirating our books because it just, it increases readership and we should just be glad,
Yeah.
but creative labor, generally speaking, is so undervalued. Oh, you're just an actor. Oh, you're just a
Yeah.
writer. Oh, this is not a
Oh,
real
yeah.
career. That's not a lawyer, a doctor, a whatever, even a
Yeah.
janitor. I mean, like I at least understand the title of janitor. I know what that job is. I know it comes with a paycheck. I know it's work. But like, how do you advise folks who do want a job in the creative world? And you've had a lot of them. How do you advise folks on one, advocating for themselves and
Yeah.
their right to set a fair wage for their labor, whether or not they're doing it on that Etsy store where
Yeah.
they're coming up with a fair price, or whether or not it's in just conversations about brand deals or making money on social media or being honest about the fact that it's okay to get paid for your work?
It's hard. It's something that has taken me a long time to be better about. And unfortunately, I had to get burned in order to
Mm.
learn the lesson. And that's why I'm so adamant to tell people don't work for free. I don't work for free. And also, to your point about getting into heat for this, I mean, one of the weirdest things I think I've ever gotten backlash for was when I shared how much I spent on a video and how much I had paid people.
Yes, that
And I
was
had
bizarre.
folks saying, like, you spent too much money. And I said, no, I actually feel totally okay with how much money I spent. I also don't let people work for free. Whenever someone reaches out to me and they say, oh, I want to work with you and let's do this and, blah, 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 and don't worry, I'll do it for free. I always say, no, 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 you will not do it for free. If you'd like to
Mhm.
give me a discount, great. But what
Yep.
we not going to do is have you work for free. One, to protect myself, right? Like, there's nothing worse than somebody coming to you later and saying, you stiffed me. I did all this work and you didn't pay me. And it's like, well, you said I should, and da da da. No, I want in writing how much you are going to be paid, and I will pay you and the increments and whatever else. But that has been a lesson I had to learn, because I had situations. There's nothing worse than when you do fucking work for family. And you're like, well, you're family, so I'll just do it for free. And then, and then they become nightmare clients. And then you're working all these crazy hours and you're like, and I'm not getting paid for this? Like, this is insane. They suddenly have 1 million notes and they want it turned around immediately. So I just encourage creative
You're never
people.
famous to your family,
Oh
ever. They
God,
are going to
no.
keep you humble.
No, no, not at all. So, again, I tell creative folks that when someone says, well, that's too expensive. Like, I'm not going to do that. Just say, like, I always try to take the gracious approach and say, like, I understand you should spend your money where you think it is worthwhile. This is my work. I'm giving you X amount of years of experience. I'm putting this many hours into it. And if that's not going to work for you, no problem. I'm not going to argue with you. Like, if that is a waste of my time, I'm going to move on to someone who can pay me for my time. I'll also say, I think you should give back as often as possible. Like I give away so much free advice. I have mentees. I am always like lifting the veil behind my process and mistakes that I've made in my content creation journey and as a writer and as a performer. And I would never discourage people from doing that. But if I'm going to give you hours, I need to be compensated. And I just think for artists and creative people, it's not something that you come out the gate feeling confident doing. And so if you do feel uncomfortable, I always encourage people, write a little script for yourself, practice the script, say it out loud. It doesn't have to be word for word. I love a bulleted list. Just get yourself very
They have
familiar.
teleprompter apps. Ask me how I know.
And yes, and I also, in Gmail, I think in most mail programs, you can have like preset responses. And I have a little response that just says, "Thank you so much for thinking of me. Is this a paid opportunity? If not, I'm going to have to pass at this time." I don't even think about it anymore. There it is, Or I have reps, you have reps. I just pass stuff, let them be the bad guy. And if you don't
Yeah.
have reps, make a
Yeah.
fake email address that is your representative. That's what I did early in my career. I had a fake assistant. Francesca's not available for this right now.
Maybe I need that. Maybe I need to do that.
Yeah, because the assistant can be a bitch. The assistant can be rude. The fake manager can be,
That's what my agent tells me all the time. She's like, "Would you just let me be the mean one? Or just let you have the good relationship. I'm going to be the mean
I
one." I'm like,
tell
"But I have
people
things
this.
I want to say," and they're like, "No, you pay me to say those things." Okay.
Don, I would say the same thing to you. Make them earn that 10%. You tell them, you ask for more money. You tell them, I need a car service. You tell them, I don't do, green jelly beans or whatever the fuck you have on your writer. Like, I don't make me do it. You do it.
Only do green jelly bean.
Exactly.
I
And they
want to
must
see them
be
tweezers out.
handpicked. Yes, exactly.
You were talking about you always give credit or uplift other people.
Hmm.
And that was something else that I wanted to talk to you about because, in the social media landscape, and I mean, I remember this years ago. I found it on Pinterest. I found it on Google as though that was proper credit.
Credit. Yeah.
And I use you as an example constantly,
Mm.
especially because of how viral and commercially successful your leopard lady
My
bit
leopard song
has
that
become.
everyone keeps being like, "Hey, Francesca, they need to credit you for that." I'm like, I did not come up with leopards ate my face.
Every single time that comes up, you're like, this is not my joke. I have iterated. I have made a version of
I've
it
made
that
it.
is mine,
Yes, thank
but
you.
I didn't come up with this. That guy over on Twitter said it.
Thank you for saying that.
I
Yeah, and I don't
love that so much
thank
because
you.
people don't do it.
Yeah, I have two feelings about it. I appreciate it, but I'm also saddened that like the bar is so low. And also I'll add, so the writer Adrian Bott, who came up with the phrasing, he had a viral tweet in 2015. I never thought the leopards would eat my face. Scream the woman who voted for the leopards eating faces party. I credit him all the time, and he and I have connected because of it. And he always says like, "Thank you so much." Like people never credit me. And folks, there have been a number of times where people tried to accuse me of stealing, and he's shown up in the comments to say, "Francesca's not stealing from me. She's always credited me." And I have had my work stolen so many times. Perez Hilton famously stole Shit White Girls Say to Black Girls, and he uploaded it. It was going viral, and he uploaded it to perezhilton.com. And not only did he not credit me, my name was at the end of the video, and he clipped the end of the video. And I emailed him and I was very gracious. I said, "Hi, I'm Francesca. That's my video. Thanks for sharing it. I would really appreciate it if you could like credit me." And he didn't respond. And so I sent him multiple emails. By the third one, I was like, "Just take it down. Like I'm done." And he was like, "I was giving you exposure." I said, "You're not giving me exposure if my fucking name isn't on it. And you're also driving traffic away from my video where I'm making money. Just embed my YouTube video. Just embed my video." So
You
it's,
get the clicks and you get the traction. You get to be paid for your labor, and he gets the benefit of
oh,
having comment section
and he also
discussion.
said, "Perez Hilton presents to you shit white girls say. I was like, yo, this is
The kind of
crazy.
culture that we could have had if he didn't exist in the early 2000s.
Well, here's the other thing.
I think like Matt Bomer talked about this recently and was like, I mean,
About
I think he
how he
was like
outed
getting
him.
Superman. Like, I think he was
Yeah.
like, it was his.
Yeah.
And then Perez was like, oh, did y'all know he kisses
Yeah, no, Perez is a terrible person,
a whole
and
terrible person? Why does he end up in my comment section every time I take my shirt off?
he's just
I hate him so much. And I
he's
tell him to
very
his face, and yet
thirsty.
there he is every single time. You can see my clavicles. He's like, I
You need to block him. You need to block him.
swear to God, he gets a new account. I swear to God, he's got 37.
He does. He does. I wasn't subpoenaed, but there was a lawsuit against him, and the lawyers reached out to me. I
Did you
guess it was
dance to that courtroom? Did you just dance?
I didn't dance. I didn't
Did you
have
put
to
on your cha-cha heel?
I didn't have to appear, but I did send them the emails because that's what they asked for. I think this was when he got sued because, he was stealing photos from
Yeah.
paparazzi and not paying
Yeah.
for them and
Yeah.
drawing,
I
cum
remember.
stains on
I remember.
children.
Yeah. It was a whole
Yeah.
problem. And then I remember
Yeah.
that got resolved because he could put a thing up or like, oh, if you're a journal, I pay my people. Da 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 da. Him and I think Todd Hall had like a similar scandal where it's I pay my people. Here, here's all the people I pay.
Yeah, that's another one. Well, and I think, it's also just unfortunately emblematic of a long running culture on the internet where people just think anything that's shared is up for grabs.
I found it on Pinterest, so it's mine now, right?
Yeah, and I learned that lesson. I started watermarking everything. I really don't watermark as much as I should anymore, but all of my videos had Cheska Lee like watermarked in the corner because people would make GIFs of my videos, for example, and then people would be like, "Oh my God, who is this girl?" And then I'm like, "That's me." Or there's a viral clip of me doing a Britney Spears impression on the read, and it goes viral all of the time. And I'm so glad that I fucking watermarked it because people swear up and down it's Britney, even though you can hear Crystal and Kid Fury like cackling in the background. But I'm like, I can always say it's me because my fucking name is right on there. So again, a lesson I had to learn the hard way, unfortunately.
And I think that's just so emblematic of the job and labor and position of the content creator in the modern landscape. We make the content that y'all talk about at we make the
Yeah.
we contextualize stuff. We make the jokes that you all tell one another.
Yeah.
All of that. So I do want to ask, because obviously you've been doing it a while. I got my podcast start in 2009. You're beating me on YouTube. How's it changed for the better? How's it changed for the worse? Was there was there ever really like that golden, everybody talks about this like golden era of YouTube where it was like this pure thing?
Yeah, I don't ever know that it was pure, but I will say, has it changed? Yes, it's become very accessible, which is a good thing and a bad thing. I started making YouTube videos when I was in college, and there was no partner program. So you weren't making any money. And when I would tell people that I was making videos, and I was waking up early and editing before class and editing before work because my internet speeds were faster early in the morning. And I would tell people that that's what I was doing. And they would say, why? Why would you do that? And I'm like, well, it's fun. What did you do this weekend? I spent my whole weekend editing a parody of Beyonce's Countdown. And they're like, why? Why did you do that? So that it was just
One day I want to be on Superstore. You don't know what that is yet.
Well, and to be fair, to the question of like what's changed, I wasn't doing it because I thought it was going to get me anything. I just liked doing it. I just thought it was fun. And I grew up online and I learned HTML in like middle school and had my own website and
We
I was
know
a
how
computer
printers work.
camp. Yeah. And like I had a scanner and I was the historian in my theater department and I saved up and bought my first digital camera. Before digital cameras, I would take my camera to the Walgreens and get it developed and get a CD-ROM.
Now, did your digital camera have the cool thing where you could put the whole 3.5 floppy disk into it? I always liked those.
No,
it was like a big square and you could clunk.
I didn't have that. I didn't have that. But like mine had all these like cool features where you could take two pictures and it would stitch them together inside the camera. Like
you are fancy. You're man.
It was very shoddy work, but it was great, And so like at the time, it was truly just like for the love of it. And because there was no monetization, like it just felt more pure in terms of people just making things for the sake of making things. Now, because it's so accessible, I really think people have lost like the art of editing and storytelling. And, back in my day, we had to hang a green screen. You know what I mean? It wasn't a filter. You had to make sure that the fabric on the green screen was lit appropriately in order to chroma key. That is the process of removing the green from the green screen. If you had shadows on it, on your face or whatever, you couldn't get it out. Like, those were the things that just helped, in my mind, like appreciate the work that it went into hours of editing. There's been this push towards short form content. And when TikTok was in danger of being banned, and even now we still might lose it, so many people said, "Oh, I want to do YouTube, but like it just takes so long to edit." I'm like, yeah,
It's
yeah.
harder.
So it's harder. Sometimes you have to put
No,
in hours to edit a 5-minute video that then nobody watches. You know what
I
I mean?
love,
Like,
see, it's so fun. I mean, I can't help but think about all of these parallel conversations happening around like AI and writing.
yep,
And people are like, well,
yep.
I love to write, but like, do
But
you have
I don't,
any
my
idea
writing's not good.
how long it takes to like outline and plot and edit? Like, what if I could just like put my ideas in and it like gives me an outline? I'm like, so I can get to the writing. I'm like, no, baby, you are skipping the writing.
Yeah,
That is all writing. You need to
yeah,
figure out who your characters are and what they want and what is standing in their way and how they're going to get there. And if you're having
yeah,
a robot do it, all you're doing is asking me to do it for you without paying me, because I'm one of those authors that was stolen so that you could have this at your,
yeah. And
beck and call.
the other part of that I keep saying is that you have to make stuff that's bad. That's part of the
Yes,
process. Like, everybody
people have
wants
to
to
be bad at things for a
everyone wants
long
to
time.
for years you have to be bad. And making stuff that's bad or making stuff that's cringe helps you get to the place where you figure out what your voice is, because through that you're going to make mistakes and you're going to discover things. And I always use the analogy of training for a marathon. You don't just wake up and run 26.1 miles. You start by running a 5K, and then, you train and you do hill sprints, and you have to do ice baths, and you have to take days off, and then maybe you hurt yourself, and then you do trails, and then you have to take a month off because you hurt yourself, like whatever it is. And then you get to the marathon and you shit yourself, right? And you're like, I did it, but you earned it, right? And I think when you use AI, you can't really say it's your work, but also like you don't feel the satisfaction of, oh man, like my early writing was really bad. Like, and now it's
But here's the
good.
thing that people don't get about it, about content creation, about writing, about acting, about anything in the creative arts at all, is that if you are not enjoying the being bad of it all,
You're not, yeah, don't
don't
do
do
it.
it. Like, it's
Don't do
not
it.
for you. And that's fine. It's okay to be a hobbyist. It's okay to like dabble from time to time, part time,
Mm-hmm.
but like,
Mm-hmm.
nobody's making you be an actor.
No.
Nobody's making you be an author. Like, nobody's
But that
making you
goes
do
back
these.
to figuring out your why. What is your why? Are you doing this because you want to make tons of money and you want to be on the bestseller list and you want to win an Oscar?
Yes. Yes, I am.
But
Yeah.
like ultimately, you have to have a good story to tell.
But I'm a good writer now, so I can say that.
And again, to be clear, I don't think it's bad to want accolades and money and all of those superficial things.
Yeah.
But if it's going to take you 10, 15, 20 years to get those things, you are going to give up, because there are a ton of very talented and successful writers and actors and designers and blah 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 that don't have any awards. I always say you can go to any subway in New York City and hear the best singers of your fucking life. And guess what? Nobody knows who they are. And they still go down there and sing their fucking faces off because they love music and they love connecting with, a crowd of 50 people in the F train station jamming out and loving them. And they're like, this is enough for me. I would love to be at Madison Square Garden, but this will fulfill me because I love making music. you have to have that same passion for whatever it is that you're doing.
Also, comparison is the thief of joy. There are people who want to be here and they don't want to be at Madison Square Garden.
Amen.
And there's folks that like try to insist or push or like, oh, you could be doing da 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 da. And it's like sometimes that voice gets in our head and it's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
is what I'm doing not good enough? I thought I was
Mm-hmm.
happy. I thought I was enjoying, doing this in my off time. Oh, maybe I need to rush this. Maybe I need to push myself. Maybe I need to put myself in situations I don't want to be in with people that I don't like and sit in discomfort. You don't have to do any of that. Like you
Yeah.
don't have to.
Yeah.
Comparison is absolutely the thief of joy. You don't have to have that other person's career. You are enough as you are. And so, and we need that. Like,
Yeah. And also to your point about the comparison of it all, like everybody can't be a fucking star. Like we need some normie people. We need some people that are, are not supermodels. We need some people that are not sports stars. We need some people that are not movie stars. Like if every single
she's saying
person
we
could,
need comedians, guys. We need to.
well, not everybody should be doing stand up, guys. Some of
So
those open
true.
mics are painful. But if every single person, one, if everybody could do it, then they would. But if everybody couldn't do it, then like it doesn't become special anymore. There, to your earlier point, like there's nothing wrong with just making stuff for the joy of making things. And for me, that's been a big part of my break from social media, but also part of my creative process has been just discovering things that are just for me. And I think, especially when you are fortunate enough to make a living out of your creative passion, it can become really soul sucking when you're like, God, if I don't finish these pages, is this gonna sell? And I have to pay bills and we have to get on a Zoom and do notes and da, 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 da. And then it can become really hard to create on demand. And so giving yourself permission to just create for yourself, and it
You
doesn't
have
have
to
to go
fill your well
viral.
back up before you can keep going.
Yeah, and so like I'm a big journaler and I love to watercolor and I love hand lettering and I do all
I
that stuff
love
for just
painting.
it's so
Yes.
fun. It's
Yeah.
so what I love about watercolor is you can't get it wrong. Like there's just no like you just if you don't like it, like you can literally like take a paper towel and pull it up, or I have a little hand dryer that like I could just dry it and then put something on top of it, and I
There you
have all
go.
these
Layer it. You draw over it,
layer it,
layer
doodle
it.
on
Yeah.
top of it. Like I have a little
It's
mini
very
printer.
forgiving.
And
Use
you
your colored
cut
pencils. Make it
cut
into whatever
stuff
you want.
out,
Yeah.
make it whatever you want. And it's so freeing and liberating. So I really encourage people to do that. I love taking like classes. Like I took a printmaking class, which was really cool. And I'm taking a collage class. And it's just like a really nice way for me to turn my brain off and remember that like I am an artist and I'm really good at my art and I like it. And again, it's so nice that I get to get paid for my art, but um that can put the pressure on. So it's been nice to take that off.
Do you remember a point at which all of this content creator stuff left being a hobby, not for you necessarily, but just like in the zeitgeist, in the culture, left being a hobby and started being seen as like a legitimate thing? And I'm going to tell you mine first while you think. I
Hmm.
remember this was many, many years ago now. There was an ad for some prescription medication. If you live outside of the US, this might confuse you, but we have ads for medicine here. It's
And
not
there's people
great.
dancing in fields and like
Yeah, it's
running.
terrible. But she got this girl, is this lady, and she gets on camera and she's like, I'm a busy podcast producer and I'm always on the go. And that's why I need Trumantics. And I'm like,
Hmm.
what? We're
It's so funny.
what? Podcast pod one? We've got producers now? Y'all have producers? It's just me. Two, we're on ads now? Like this is such a normalized thing.
Yeah.
When did that happen? Like this is apparently such a widespread career that like, oh, I guess I've missed something
I
even though
think
I've been doing this forever.
I think it happened. I realized it earlier. I mean, I started making videos. So YouTube came out in 2005. I started making videos in 2006. And then they started the partner program, but it was invite only. But then they opened it to everyone, like as long as you had a certain number of
Yeah.
subscribers, I think you could. And I think that was 2008 or 2009, and people started making like serious money. And then Vine came out shortly after, and people were making like serious money in brand deals. And so for me, I think that's when I noticed it. In hindsight, I lucked out that it never was super lucrative for me because I always kept a day job. And so I always was kind of like, this is really cool. It's not my dream. I went to acting school. I wanted to be an actor. And so when I got the opportunity to quit my job and pursue acting, social media and content creation was just kind of like extra money, like Chipotle money is what my friend Amber calls it. I don't eat at Chipotle, but I just love the idea of like, this just buys like a burrito every once in a while. So yeah. And even like in the early 2000s, there were like mommy bloggers and like food
Yeah.
bloggers, and like they were making a lot of money on like ads and stuff.
Uh-huh.
I remember I got invited to Blog Her, which is like this big
I remember
women's
that. Yeah.
blogger conference, and but it was very geared towards like moms. So I saw this, it was still very new, but like I think I always recognized the potential of it. I didn't see it being where it is now, where like everyone is an influencer. Every single person you meet is like, "Oh, well, I also do content creation." And I'm like, "Really?" Like everyone, every single person you meet now, and also like everyone's gone viral now. Like going viral is like not really a big deal. Everyone's like, well, I had a viral TikTok, I had a viral tweet, and I was on
I
Entertainment
will tell
Tonight
you, every
for a
author I've
thing.
ever spoken to is like, my dream is to go viral. And I'm like, I've been viral a lot. I promise
It
it's not the thing
sucks.
you think it is.
Yeah, like I mean, it's great when something hits, but it's so funny because
With the right audience, with the right, like, you want the right thing to hit.
yeah,
It's usually the wrong thing.
it's usually the random thing. But it's also the thing of like, when I first went viral, I was like the first in my friend group. I maybe had one other. And so I became the de facto person that if you were going viral, you called me and said, like, what do I do? Like, I'm freaking out. Like, oh, like, and it's exciting. And then it
You
becomes
just
really
make something
scary
else.
because the weirdos start like
Yeah.
something's going viral when like suddenly there's like more slurs in your comments. Like I don't care who you are. You can be
Yeah.
a straight cis white guy and they'll be like calling you whatever, and so that part really sucks. And then if you haven't locked down like your personal Facebook, they're going to find your mom. They're going to go on your LinkedIn. I have a Wikipedia, and my Wikipedia gets defaced like every day. Like there's like a section where you can see the edits, and there's always people going back and forth like, Franchesca hates white people Ramsey. And then they're like, someone's like, that's not her name. And then the person's like, well, it should be. And then, and then another
Have you ever
person's
thought of
like,
changing your name to Franchesca Hates Wife?
that's my maiden name. Yeah, like
Sorry, Francesca Hates White People is actually my father. Thank you.
yeah. So a lot of people, to your point, think they want that because they're thinking about like money and jobs, and sometimes that does happen. But these days it's happened to so many people. I don't think it doesn't translate to jobs as much as people think it does. And they'll find any reason to not pay you. You know this. You
I
have a
did
viral
see,
TikTok and they're like,
yeah.
oh, no, no, no. Unoriginality,
Or
something.
suddenly it's like, hey, this video got 5 million views. You know what? We're gonna make your
Your
pay per.
RPM 5 cents,
Suddenly it's, we know we were giving you like $1.10 for a while.
which is nothing.
Actually, 5 cents,
Yeah.
10 cents. We're thinking 10 cents.
Yeah. And also
Great.
only 30,000 of those views are qualified. The
Yeah.
rest of them don't count.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So great. Love it so much. It's so fun. I'm so glad I still have a day job otherwise.
Yeah.
So I am also just kind of curious about, where do you see this all going? Because being an online person has become everybody's online now.
Yeah.
Everybody, we're all out here, right? I
Yeah.
mean, kids have toy play sets that are like baby
Vlogger.
influencer.
Yeah,
Yes. How,
that's
like
crazy.
vlogger, like, here's your kitchen set and here's your mop set and here's vlogger for some
Yeah.
reason. And it's like, we're all online now. We're all a brand. I saw there was a report on some news morning show the other day I was watching in the gym, and they were saying that young people don't give each other nicknames anymore because they are concerned about their future branding.
That's really funny.
They don't
I
give
did
each other
not see that.
nicknames anymore. Yeah, I'll have to find the article. It was on, like I said, it was on one of those like morning, like a Today Show or something like that.
That's really
And they were
funny.
saying young people are not giving one another nicknames anymore, at least not anything they post to social media,
Yeah.
because they are afraid that it's going to affect their brand in the future. So we're all a brand now.
Wow. Where do I think it's going? I don't know. I mean, I do think that as the market continues to get oversaturated, I think there will be a shift. Just like there is with everything. Like, you've seen a lot of Gen Z folks going back to like analog hobbies like scrapbooking and crochet and I was at a party and I saw somebody with like a handheld camcorder at the party and I was like, that's
Number of people
funny.
that are like going on to like
eBay and buying
eBay,
old
Amazon,
cameras.
buying old cameras.
Yeah, so and I also saw something about this was in Japan and they're always ahead of us that everybody is collecting cassette tapes now.
Cassettes, records made a comeback, obviously. Cassettes are making a comeback. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think similarly um I think live theater is maybe going to have a resurgence especially as there's so many streamers and they've all gotten so expensive and it's like it's so hard to keep up with all of your favorite shows. A lot of people have gotten rid of cable, but I think more people are going to start getting rid of all their streaming platforms and seeing more live performance, live theater and I've been going back to stand up which has been really fun and I think people are really craving like community around like consuming content, especially even with like the streaming model. I miss being able to like live tweet a show or like one episode of the show came out and we were all able to talk about it
All talking
versus
about it. Yeah.
you're like, wait, don't tell me I haven't finished watching or I haven't started and you've watched the whole thing and I haven't watched it yet. And like versus if we go see a play together or there's a limited run of a show, like you've seen it or you haven't seen it. So I hope that that's where we're headed towards.
The bean soupification of the internet.
Well, and also like I think they're calling it the shitification with like
Oh,
the
yeah.
AI of it all, like just how many people are using AI, people and brands are using AI to make commercials, and you're
When
seeing,
Coca-Cola is using AI to make like a Christmas commercial, like I'm like, oh, that's bad because that's
yeah,
like their big. They put money into their Christmas campaigns, and if they're like, we're not going to do that, we're going to ask a computer to do it for
yeah.
us.
And even like Audible saying they're going to use
Oh
AI
my
for voice
god,
actors and stuff. So like I think we're going
that
to
voice
be,
act and the voice act. I mean, just the voice actors are like still on strike.
yeah.
And have been on for like a long time now because that's a segment of the industry that like everybody wants to use AI for. They're like, well, you're not even on camera. You're just a voice. So why can't we just take your voice and just iterate it and make you narrate all these books you've never heard of?
Yeah, I have a Google alert for myself for just, when people share my content or I get mentioned in articles or anything. And I got a Google alert and it said image may contain Franchesca Ramsey. And I was like, what does that mean? And I went and I looked at it and it was an AI image. And the girl, she didn't look like me, but she looked like we could be cousins. And I was like, did yeah, I got a Google alert. Image may contain Francesca Ramsey. Isn't that crazy?
Please, please, if you do a stand-up spot, please may
Isn't that
brand
crazy?
that somehow. May
I
contain Francesca Ramsey. That's like a podcast name. That's a stand-up special. This stand-up special may contain Francesca Ramsey. That's your
That is
next.
funny.
Forget the leopards. Do that. This is so goddamn funny.
I know. And I was like so confused. And it was like an article about like extravagant weddings or something. And it was like this picture of a bunch of like a black girl with like her hair in an updo in front of like this beautiful table full of stuff. And I was looking at it, I was like, she does it's not me, but like it looks similar, like we could be related.
There's
And
a
I was like,
quality.
yeah,
There's a
and the article
quality.
doesn't say this image is AI generated, but it must be in like the metadata or something because I got it pinged my Google alert. Yeah, I think that we are going to see more and more of these fake influencers, and we have a few of them, like these AI
Yeah.
influencers. We've had them for a little bit. I think we're going to see more and more of them, and I hope that that is going to lead more people to just like rejecting social media as much. And I've been trying to break up with the internet for a really long time. And it's hard when, Hollywood has been in shambles and I'm like, I need to work. So,
Well, and I'll tell you, every author that I know is like, I do all of this on social media so that one day I don't have to. We're all pining for that Suzanne Collins career of I write my book and I disappear into the ether. Hunger Games, Sunrise on the Reaping. But you
yeah.
know what just told me that we are all fucked forever is the author of those How to Train Your Dragon books was
Mhm.
also got to be a fairly anonymous person like a
Mhm.
Suzanne Collins. I just came across, she's on TikTok now. Hi, I'm the author and it's like,
You
thousand
have
yard
movies.
stare. I don't know how to do this. And that's the thing. And it's like,
Yeah.
I'm like, y'all, they got Carissa. Like,
I mean,
man, we're
I
all,
knew we were in trouble when Beyonce started talking to us. Like she was like, "Hey guys, buy my alcohol, buy my hair care stuff. I'm in a Verizon commercial." I was like, "Oh, Beyonce?"
yeah.
Yeah,
Everybody
we
talks about those
are.
recession indicators. Like, if this person puts out music, that's the recession indicator. And somebody was
Yeah,
like the day Hillary Duff announced that she was putting out a new album, everybody was like, okay, listen, this is like the
Ashley
last stage.
Simpson is going back to music,
Okay, I'm not mad
girl.
about that. I'm excited for an Ashley Simpson renaissance. Listen,
I
that
mean,
first album was good.
don't get me wrong, there are bops on that album, but we don't need a return. We don't need a
But
return.
I just
We
remember the
don't.
day that Hillary Duff announced, or at least the day I saw it, somebody else in those comments was like, if Rihanna announces a new
Yeah.
single, it's
No.
not just a recession, it's Great Depression. And like not 20 minutes later, it's like, Rihanna has a new single
And the
for the
Smurfs.
Smurfs.
For the Smurfs.
Cooked. We
Oh
are
yeah.
cooked. It's gonna be the greatest of
Yeah.
depressions.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the silver lining is this is the time when artists create. And I think
Well,
we're
and
gonna
you
we're gonna
know,
get some great work.
you're touching on something that I researched for that new book that you referenced earlier. I have a book about loneliness coming out, and we're in this loneliness epidemic, and we're all, generation after generation, we're feeling more and more lonely. But what we know from research, from emotional science, from sociology is loneliness actually has a purpose. We evolved it like hunger and thirst. Hunger tells us that we need to eat. Thirst tells us that we need hydration. Loneliness tells us that we need other people. So I think that you are
Mhm.
100% correct. I think that we are reaching like the breaking point. I think that a lot of our overconsumption of the internet has been we are increasingly lonely and we are reaching out to one another in this
Yeah.
very accessible way. But I think that even that now feels kind of fake to a lot of people. And I think that we are going to now try to find those other avenues of connection. Sometimes some of them we forgot and some of them we're going to have to innovate because they didn't exist for us before. Because those of us who were invisible before the internet are now out here. We're now not hiding in a closet. We're now not but I'm excited for that. I'm excited for kind of the rebirth of a hunger to connect with other people.
Yeah.
I'm fully on board with that. I think that's exactly correct.
Yeah, me too. I've been leaning into that personally, like before this started like looming, like before, Trump's second presidency and the tariffs and all that other stuff, I've really been saying like my community is really important to me. And even like, in my like queer journey and decentering men and also like decentering partnership in that like I would love to have a serious romantic partner, but my friends fill me so much that like I'm romancing my friends, so to speak. Like we go to dinner, we go on trips together, I vacation with my friends. Like we give each other a lot of like emotional support, and this is something you and I have talked about so much. It makes me sad that people don't have genuine friendships. And so I really hope people start investing in the work of building community. And so, yeah, your book needs to hurry up.
Miss Francesca Ramsey, I want to respect your time. So if people want to get more of you on or
Yes.
off break, how can they do that?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm not on social media right now, but I have a social media manager who is still managing my pages, which has been great. But I'm Cheska Lee across social media. That's ChescaLeigh. On TikTok, I'm Franchesca Lee because some other bitch got
TikTok
Cheska
said,
Lee.
we want your government name.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at. And then I have merch, like Leopards merch, and but then I also like did a social media course, and so you can get that at
She has
shop.
wallpaper,
I have
you guys. She has
wallpaper
wallpaper.
at shop.francesca.net. Yeah, that's where you can find me. And I have a mailing list, and I'm trying to lean into that where it's like, if you really care about me and you want to hear what's in my brain, like I don't need to respond to everything happening in the world. So my mailing list is there as well.
Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. This was really delightful.